welcome to another episode of InkSpire, where ink meets inspiration. One book, one big idea, ink for insight. We have Nirbhay Kumar Lumde. Very warm welcome to you, Nirbhay.
Thank you, Ravi.
And we're going to do a bit of a review for his book on blueprints for sustainable leadership, global and Indian case studies driving corporate transformation. So, Nirbhay, there are three focus areas as we discussed. One, we're going to delve into the specific global and Indian case studies that exemplify successful sustainable leadership. That's one. Second, providing listeners with actionable steps to incorporate sustainable practices into their organizations or personal endeavors. And third, we look at practical strategies for implementation. So the three different themes. Anything you have to say before we start off with the questions, Nirbhay?
No, thanks so much, Ravi, for having me here. I think ESG is only in space that's going to really grow bigger. Thanks to you, Ravi, for taking this leadership role. I'm sure many would really join in this journey. Yes, we need to really reach the net zero 20 as a country by 2070. I'm sure this is a small step that we are doing together. Glad to be here, and I'm sure the listeners will enjoy our conversation.
Thank you, Nirbhay. So we look at the first theme, evolution from CSR to ESG, Nirbhay. The questions are around how has the mindset shift from CSR to ESG changed the way companies define and measure their impact on society and the environment? And what are the biggest misconceptions organizations still hold about ESG, and how can leaders address them effectively, Nirbhay?
Yeah, wonderful question to start with. The corporate social responsibility, or we call it CSR, has been largely and compliance driven, which is voluntary, which the companies, the enterprise have been doing it, serving immediate communities, community development programs, social welfare. Whereas the ESG is largely about the enterprise driven, which is largely has the various components about environmental stewardship, social responsibility, and corporate excellence. So therefore, the two distinct. One largely which is compliance driven, the other is about business, largely business driven, which is about having all the three elements putting together. Also, the ESG largely is evolving towards getting how do we really look at the larger buy-in from our stakeholders, having materiality in place, also to build stakeholders' trust. So that's how the shift has been from CSR to ESG. The largely when we look at the misconception of CSR or the ESG largely, which I'm going to speak about it. So ESG largely is seen as one team or one person driven, which is not a case in point. ESG is, as I said earlier, has to be an environmental stewardship, has to have social responsibility, which is not just philanthropy, but how do we really mitigate some of the larger challenges for having a business there? And of course, not just looking at the governance, only ticking the box exercise in terms of compliances, but how do we really see the larger picture of building investor trust? So therefore, it's not just about, this has been largely seen as a misconception, ESG, as one person or one team's engagement. The second, which is the ESG always seen as reporting environmental or the emission factors. Unfortunately, that's not really right. You have got a bigger picture, larger picture, which is all about social, which is about your own people, your employees, your stakeholders, and also about the governance part of it. The third biggest misconception is about saying that ESG is only limited to reporting, which is your largely ticking the box into your annual report. That's not right. ESG has its own the ROI, returns on investment, in terms of how do you really look at when you plug in the various factors of environmental social governance, which is today not just about having purely the CSR, which is seen as good to do. ESG is all about building the investors' trust, having building that competitive advantage, and of course, it's also about showcasing your corporate excellence. That's where I see the good to do from a CSR to about having competitive advantages as an ESG as an initiative. That's how I see it.
Lovely. Thank you, Nirbhay. I just had one question again as a layman as such. CSR, I could to an extent understand because I work in the corporate, so we know the CSR initiatives. And I can imagine going to, let's say, government school and actually doing some activity and reporting it end of the quarter to my own boss, who actually, when line goes across to the company head, who says these are the number of CSR activities we had. With respect to ESG, can you actually help me understand what are the kind of initiatives which come under ESG?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Ravi. I think that's wonderful to have this conversation on this for sure. The CSR, which we largely speak about, is falls under the social part of the ESG. When we speak about the ESG components, the E, especially the environment, is all it's all about those. We speak about the having the renewable energy, carbon neutrality, energy efficient buildings, renewable energy as part of your sourcing, having sustainable material procurement. So that's part of the environment of the E. We look at some of the buildings having green buildings in place. That's where we look at E part of it. It could be sourcing, it could be all that's really having an impact on your sustainability initiatives. Now, social, well, you spoke about CSR. Social is largely is about the not just about the corporate social responsibility which you do for the communities, go and do in volunteering, but social is also about your gender, pay parity, capacity building, learning and development. Also, it's all about how are you treating your employees in terms of the work-life balance. So the social is not just about giving back to communities, but
Right.
how you really treating your own employees who are really backbone of the enterprise. Now, governance, when we speak about, it is not just about the board diversity. It's not about how many men and women is part of the board, but it's all about how good we are as an governance or as a board committee, looking at how serious we are about are the ESG are the factors of part of my board reporting.
Right.
Also looking at how I'm reporting, how transparent I am in terms of the reporting. So that's how we look at governance part of it. So all this put together comprehensively, we call it ESG. And today, a good amount of enterprises globally have been practicing ESG as larger component of their annual reporting.
Excellent. One thought which came to me in Nirbhay was when it spoke about L&D. I literally stood up because ESG I thought was a separate department and they had their own KPIs. It looks like every department has to integrate with your team, I guess, overall across the company in order to achieve your goals.
Absolutely, Ravi. Today, I think one of the misconceptions that I should add, I guess, is about when I spoke about saying that ESG largely seen as one team or one small department which is driving.
Yeah.
But today, I think it's time that we need to really move away from that, having an integrated or maybe largely interdepartmental initiatives around not just driving the ESG team driving it, but it's all about collaboration, cross-functional initiative.
Yeah.
And L&D has a larger role because today, an active change agent in your own enterprise is a huge differentiator when it comes to the achieving the larger net zero goals for any enterprise. So therefore, people are the backbone of achieving net zero. It's not just about having community, it's not about governance, but at the end of the day, governance is all about people management, right, Ravi?
Yeah, absolutely there with you.
So largely, so it's also about the larger leadership also, Ravi. It's also about the board that really has to take that leadership. You need to really build that stickiness with the board members,
Yeah.
and then it has to really percolate right below to the middle management and to the employee who is a fresher. So yes, L&D has a larger role to really create those change agents across the breadth and depth of the organization.
Absolutely, Nirbhay. Love it, really. Loving the conversation.